While Harvey deservedly rots in a prison cell for the rest of his life, what about the Hollywood that enabled him? Well, enter actress Julia Ormond, who is not only suing Harvey, but also her agency CAA, Disney, and Miramax as enablers of Harvey. And you know what? I'm totally here for it. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. This is an important story, and I hope she gets some headway on this. I wanted to get you guys to know about what's happening here because, yes, we all know Harvey has paid his price. But what about Hollywood? Hollywood absolutely knew what Harvey was doing, and they just batted a blind eye to it for years, allowing him to amass even more power. And I'm talking powerful people, Brad Pitt, Oprah, all these people were there just sort of aware of what he was doing, Tarantino, etc. They all claimed they didn't know it was so bad, but they knew it was bad, and they did nothing. They were all just afraid. So what about the agencies and the studios that allowed this behavior to happen? And then when women came forward to their agents and studios, they not only did nothing, but then they got them less work, basically blacklisting them for speaking up about Harvey. Well, Julia Ormond is calling them to task. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Julia, I remember her. She was big in the 90s. Her big, I think, breakout role was Legends of the Fall with Brad Pitt. She played his love interest. And I remember being taken. She was just wonderful in that film, beautiful, and she had a pretty good run there in the 90s. Legends of the Fall, followed by First Night with Richard Gere and Sean Connery, and then she was in Sabrina with Harrison Ford. That 1995 period was when she really had her big break. Amelia's Sense of Snow, sort of the last big role that she had, and it was because during that period, she went forward and exposed Harvey and told her agents and studio what he did to her. We're going to break that down. They then in turn punished her and did not give her roles afterwards. Let's hear from her directly. All right, so yes, as I said, famous for her roles in the 90s, the ones I just told you. She's suing CAA, Walt Disney, Miramax. And yes, while Weinstein has been named numerous lawsuits since the expose in the New York Times, it's rare for business partners that profited from Weinstein's work to be named as defendants for supposedly enabling his behavior. In the lawsuit filed Wednesday in the New York Supreme Court, obtained by Variety, Ormond claims that Weinstein SA'd her in 1995 after a business dinner when he lured her into giving him a massage, and then I can't read you what it did, but it's bad, guys. It's not good. After the alleged incident, Ormond informed her agents, Brian Lord and Kevin Huvane, of what happened with Weinstein, according to the lawsuit, which states that CAA agents cautioned her from speaking out and did not protect her. Lord and Huvane are co-chairmen of CAA, are not named as defendants, but are frequently mentioned throughout Ormond's suit as her representatives at the time. Ormond is suing CAA for negligence and breach of fiduciary duty. Miramax, the company that Weinstein co-founded with his brother Bob, and the Walt Disney Company, which owned Miramax in the 90s, are being sued for negligent supervision and retention. Numerous former Miramax and Disney execs are cited in the lawsuit, including Michael Eisner, who was the CEO at the time, Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was chairman. Though they are not defendants, the Disney execs mentioned in the lawsuit are no longer working in the company. The men at CAA who represented Ormond knew about Harvey, so too did Weinstein's employers at Miramax and Disney, the lawsuit states. Brazenly, none of these prominent companies warned Ormond that Weinstein had a history of A-ing women because he was too important, too powerful, and made them too much money. CAA, Disney, and Miramax did not immediately respond to Variety's request. Weinstein, who has been convicted of R in 2 jurisdictions, has been accused by more than 100 women over the course of decades, denies Ormond's allegations, of course. In a statement to Variety, his attorney says Harvey categorically denies the allegations made to him by Julia, and he's prepared to vehemently defend himself. Just this is yet another example of complaint filed against Harvey after the passing of decades, and he's confident the evidence will not support. Well, yeah, because you're just relying on the fact that it was so long ago. Oh, no one's going to remember. Dude, you're done. You're donezo. Enough's come forward. Enough. In a phone interview, Ormond tells Variety that she is speaking out because she wants to be part of the change that can make Hollywood and other workplaces safer from these monsters. I am coming forward with my story now publicly because I feel as if we still need systematic change. And I feel like we need accountability from enablers in order to get there, Ormond tells Variety. I feel like this is what happened with me. Ormond is filing her suit under the Adult Survivors Act, which creates a look-back window outside the statute of limitations. It was passed after the Me Too movement, and says she's able to share a story because of the courage of other women and survivors. Ormond hopes that by sharing her story, they can make an impact in corporate transparency regarding reporting structures in the workplace and the use of NDA agreements to silence victims. Obviously, Harvey's in jail and is going to be in jail for a long time. I personally don't believe that Harvey could have done this without enablers. And for me, that is the layer that you have to get down to in terms of the root cause. If you think about it, if there had been best practices and Harvey had been called out the start after his first, incident, he could have learned different behaviors and potentially all the people that followed wouldn't have been harmed, but he wasn't. And there's a reason for that. And I think that's really important what she's saying there. She's not even trying to condemn in a way. She literally is like, he could have learned. If he had actually, was inappropriate or said something, we could have taught him and given him the warning. And she's absolutely right. Now, I think it's above that personally, but I like that she's at least even trying to say, look, this isn't about trying to, overly take allegations and ruin people's lives. It's about informing people and having processes in place to protect people and to warn people. And I think that's really crucial here. Ormond says that other than telling her agents in the 90s, she harbored her secret up until the Me Too movement, which gave her the courage to talk about it to her family. A weight was lifted off her shoulders with the support, and she still felt compelled to speak out publicly because she's felt guilt and shame for the other women who were allegedly by Weinstein. Now, again, how many other women you think got a little from Harvey, whether they wanted to or not, and have been silent about it? A lot. I totally believe it. I've heard the stories. This is not some Harvey's not innocent, guys. And Hollywood enabled it forever. So good on her for coming forward. After being convicted, yada, yada, part of my closure has to be talking about it publicly. And I think part of that is intertwined with the people who followed. Not only do I wrestle with what happened to me, but I wrestle with the fact that other people were hurt and they knew. She met him at a 1994 business dinner that her agent set up with an important producer to meet her at the film role. After that meeting, and they discussed film businesses and multiple potential roles. Weinstein did act appropriately during the meeting, and they agreed to stay in contact. After that meeting, though, Weinstein would send film scripts to Ormond, and they would speak over the phone. Ormond would give her notes on scripts. The two developed a close but professional business relationship in 1985 when Ormond was on the cover of New York Times Magazine, which championed her as the next biggest female movie star after Julia Roberts. Weinstein gave a glowing quote to the publication to rave about her talents, not just as an actor, but as a producer, saying that Ormond had the best story sense of any young actress in America today. I once got 26 pages of notes from her about a script. She can pull them apart and find the flaws. In August 1995, her agent CAA negotiated a 2-year production deal with Weinstein's company, Miramax, for Ormond and her production company, which would be under a first look deal with the company. Through this deal, Ormond worked with Miramax's New York offices and lived in an apartment paid for by Miramax. At the time, her agents at CAA negotiated and secured the production company agreement. They knew of Weinstein's propensity for behavior, particularly to young actresses who he's giving these big breaks to and offers and then expecting things in return. He was meeting for, whom Weinstein was meeting for business purposes. On information and belief, agents also had knowledge of confidential settlements that Weinstein reached to keep his conduct hidden from public exposure, but they did not disclose these circumstances to Ormond or otherwise warn her about Weinstein's propensity for these essays. In a 2017 investigative report, CAA was named as being part of Weinstein's complicity machine. At the time the agency issued the statement, we apologize to any person the agency let down for not meeting the high expectations we place on ourselves as individuals and as a company. We unequivocally support those who have spoken out publicly. When Ormond allegedly was aided by Weinstein in December of 1995, her career was red hot. She'd been the female lead in such films as Legends that I told you, First Night, Sabrina. The night of the alleged incident, Ormond was scheduled to have a business dinner with Weinstein to discuss a film that she was producing at Miramax that Weinstein had been stalling on, according to the complaint. At the dinner, Weinstein refused to discuss business matters and kept changing the subject. Finally, following dinner, Weinstein said he would only discuss the project back at the apartment Miramax had provided for Ormond as part of their first look deal with her. Her defense down because she had consumed several drinks and wanting to finally get what she thought was the purpose of their meeting, Ormond agreed to have Weinstein come back to her place. Soon after, Weinstein stripped and forced her, etc., etc. The suit claims that the incident could have been prevented if Ormond was protected by Disney, Miramax, and CAA. The SA on Ormond could have been prevented if Miramax or Disney had properly supervised Weinstein and not retained him while knowing that he was a danger to women that he encountered at work. Likewise, had CAA fulfilled its legal duties to Ormond to look out for her well-being, to not place her in danger, and to warn her about Weinstein's predations, Ormond would not have been in a position to be victimized by Harvey, the suit says. So again, this is just weird because read it as you will, and I got to be careful. She was sort of like pushed into doing this act. And that's horrifying. That's horrifying. Because a lot of people, and I know we've talked about it, like, oh, all these actresses that did this for their big break. She felt pressured to do it. And clearly, when your boss of the studio is trying to make you do it to get your things, it's a weird place to be in. Of course, I don't know if what she did or she stormed out, unclear, but this is horrifying to know. And then who else did he do this to? And then she goes and complains to the agency. Not only did CA fail to meet those basic obligations, but it compounded the damage once Ormond told her agents what Weinstein did to her. Rather than take Ormond's side and advocate for her interest, they suggested that if she reported Weinstein to the authorities, she would not be believed, and he would seriously damage her career. Still worse, not long after Weinstein's actions on Ormond and her reporting of it to them, CAA lost interest in representing her and her career suffered dramatically. Facts. After those movies, she went from red hot to nothing. And that now it makes sense why. After the alleged incident, the suit states that Weinstein planned to visit Ormond, where she would be filming Smilla's Sense of Snow. Through Weinstein and Miramax had nothing to do with the film. Ormond was horrified and called the agents, though she hadn't shared the backstory yet, to plead with them to stop Weinstein from coming, but they refused and suggested that if Ormond did not want him there, she needed to deal with him herself. Suit goes on to detail that Ormond faced Weinstein and told him that what he did to her was unacceptable and that she would not tolerate that behavior. She then called her. So there she is, sticking up for herself. No, get out of here. She then called her agents, which is when she told them about the alleged incident. And the suit says they did not express any empathy or surprise. They then focused on the A from Weinstein's perspective, asking Ormond whether he might have believed that Ormond had consented, and suggested that it was Weinstein's perception of the event, not Ormond's actual lack of consent, that legally mattered. The suit says the agents also told Ormond if she took action, such as going to the police, she may not be believed, and that she risked further angering Weinstein, who could be even more punitive. They also told Ormond that she could get a lawyer and seek a settlement, but they emphasized that she shouldn't expect to receive more than $100,000, which they apparently believed was the going rate for being essayed by Harvey Weinstein. Let that sink in for a second. No one's going to believe you. We don't believe you. We got to make a lot of money with him. But you could probably settle, just don't ask for more than 100K. That's the going amount for being essayed by Harvey. God, this is making me sick. This is making me sick. They advised whether to consider such a settlement was worth giving how much money she was making in the film. So it's not, so just let him get away with it. Finally, they cautioned Ormond that she should not speak to people about what Weinstein had done because he would sue her for libel. Ormond alleges that she faced retaliation for rejecting Weinstein and for trying to hold him accountable for what she did. Shortly after her call to CA, Miramax terminated her contract with her. Ormond soon felt Harvey's wrath, the suit states. Ormond had a follow-up conversation with the agents during which she again discussed her concerns and trauma, and on CA being unwilling to protect her. After that conversation, Ormond was transferred to a less experienced agent. Eventually, she left CAA. In more recent years, she's appeared in television movies, but she's no longer A-list. Her attorneys say that when she was earning $3.5 million a film in her peak, when she won an Emmy in 2010, she starred in a Lifetime series. Damage to Ormond's career because of this was catastrophic, both personally and professionally. Nearly disappearing from the public eye. Friends checked in on her over the years. Journalists frequently asked what happened to you. They sort of suspected that maybe something, but I didn't presume that this happened because people wanted it to happen. But if it happened nonetheless, and it wasn't stopped, there should have been a structure in place. There's no way that Harvey did this without people knowing. If people knew, they were either too afraid to step up or they were allowed to profit that they were making from the relationship with him just to cover it up. Or in a statement to Variety, Ormond's lawyer says she looks forward to her day in court. Our client has suffered tremendously, personally and professionally, due to Harvey and the failures from Disney, Miramax, CAA to prevent it and to appropriately respond when she reported what happened. She feels completely betrayed by CAA for a knowing disregard for her safety and well-being and looks forward to holding accountable the people and institutions that enabled Harvey and his horrific behavior. Look, this is wild, man. CAA, Miramax, Disney continued handsomely to profit from their close association with Harvey for many years after they knew what happened to Ormond. And then she was cast aside as they continued to work with him. But the damage to Ormond and so many other women went on to do this. Yikes. Look, the walls are closing in. Hollywood is facing a reckoning, as they should. That was the problem. Like, Me Too was a good idea. Like, there were parts of it that were very important. But of course, there were a lot of bad actors who took advantage of the movement. And there were a lot of people inside the movement who were just like, I don't care about any casualties or people in the that are hurt through the crossfire. It doesn't matter. This is too important. It just became too horrific at Me Too in itself. And then a lot of people were profiting off of it and doing these things. But at its core, it was attempting to expose this behavior in Hollywood that was allowed for years, totally expected for years. And Disney, Miramax, all these people, I absolutely believe were responsible. And the fact that they were like, yeah, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Nope, we're going to lose money. Just let them keep doing it. Oh, 100,000 is the going rate. So if you want that, but you're making more in the movie, so just play along. Just keep dealing with them. Why can't you just deal with them like all the other actresses that deal with it? They're getting big Oscars and dealing with it, I guess. You should too. Like, I know Hollywood's effed up. I don't like Hollywood. I love calling out Hollywood, and I applaud her for doing it because this is a tough battle to do. But my God, how disgusting is this? This is what they do, guys. So what do you think about this? Are you surprised? Do you believe her? Do you think this is accurate? I mean, knowing her timeline as someone who followed the 90s, I'm big 90s, big movie guy, but also 90s when I grew up, I knew everybody in the 90s movies. Yeah, she just disappeared like that. And it wasn't because her movies weren't good. No, she was just gone. She stopped getting offers. This makes a total lick of sense. And it's sad. It is truly sad. So I'm anxiously waiting to see what happens with this, what else she can provide to prove this. What will they do? Will they apologize? I think that's really what she wants here. Someone to take accountability and apologize. Will they do that? Will Disney finally acknowledge this? Will CAA? Sounds like Disney was even the worser in this of all things. But what do you guys think? I want to hear your thoughts. Make sure to follow this and more stories. You hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for alerts, smash that like button, and share this story, will you? Our algorithm's tough because we're trying to give you some new stories, but support the stories you don't know if you're made it this far. Thank you guys so much for watching here on Popcorn Planet, and stay tuned for more.